right mention of recommendations, right? How many of you write your own recommendations? Open question, man. You know what? That's the biggest mistake you can ever make, especially in a B school. MS also I can understand. I'm sorry, because now I'm MBA, I can't take the side of MS. But please, do not make the mistake of writing your own recommendations. Your language can be caught. It's the thought process of what you think. For my recommendations, I went to my boss, number one, who absolutely didn't like me. But I know he liked my work. But I still took the risk, saying, you know what, I am going to ISB, you write my recommendation. Number one. Number two, I went to a guy who was a program manager all through the while, who has been critiquing my work for the last 3 years. I took the risk, I said, dude, I feel I'm comfortable you writing my reco, please write my reco for my ISB. Later, both these guys sent the recos. Trust me, even if I had spent 6 months on it, I wouldn't have written a reco like that. One, they're first of all, they're well spoken. They can write well, they can express well, they give you perspectives which you never feel, right? And this is very important. And in some sense, as the panel earlier said, it needs to connect back to your story, but it will. That is the belief you need to have in yourself for people who have observed you. It's a beautiful addition for the essays that you've written, for the story that you've built. But then opening that as an extension, you believe that recommendations are like a big part, apart from the essays that you write by yourself. What are your choices? Do you feel like it's the regular choices, okay, superior thing, or did you guys do something different?
My perspective on is whom you have worked more closely over the past 3-4 years, who understands the way you work, your plus points, maybe some of your minus points also, but whom you have worked closely, who can gauge you properly, and of course in a superior role. So that was one main point which I considered. So basically whoever worked with me as a superior, I went for the couple of people.
Okay.
Apart from, we have to give 2 recommendations. One was directly from my immediate supervisor. The second one was interesting choice because he was never my supervisor, but we had worked indirectly on certain projects. So he knew what my strengths were, what my weaknesses were. We worked to about 6 to 8 months in close proximity. He was not in my team. He was not even my manager for that matter, but I knew that he would give a good recommendation. So, you have to choose them wisely. You have to choose people with whom you have worked, who would evaluate you well as a person, rather than, just selecting immediate superior.
To add to that, I'll say it's not just the professional part, but the behavioral aspect will also count a lot.
Right.
Because that shows that you really know the person, and that person has been a sort of mentor for you.
Got it.
Yeah, and to add to that, I remember somebody asking me about taking references from your old workplace, or if you're not working
the
right
previous
now.
workplace or something, yeah.
In my case, I had a 1.5-year break.
Sure.
I'm not working currently, and my references were from my previous workplace. So it's completely okay. But what I did was, I was very close to my boss. So even before I started my GMAT journey, I spoke to him like, hey, this is what I wanted to, because I value his opinion.
Right.
And he's like, oh wow, that suits your personality, so and so. He gave me. So he kind of knew me as a person, my behavioral aspects and stuff like that. So, and also in the US, you can't tell them what to write in the references.
True.
And you can't even read their references. So I absolutely have no idea what they wrote, but at least what I made sure was he knew what direction or path I was going in, so that he can write or connect to it.
Right.
And apparently they wrote very good references, because in the interview they asked me a guesstimate, because the only reason she's like, I'm asking you a guesstimate is your references spoke very highly about you, so I want to see your thought process.
Sure.
So you can choose from your previous work experience. Just make sure they know you really well.
Okay. Is it a good idea to forward your essays to the guys who are recommending you?
I haven't, and I don't.
Any of you did it?
Yes.
You did it?
So
okay.
the reason is that you have, it's alright. The reason is that the person can also align certain events that have happened in your life where he or she was able to give you the right inputs, right? You may show something as a weakness, and if there is an event in which that person can vouch that yes, I gave such and such instructions, and possibly the person improved over time, that really adds to it.
Sure.
It shows that there has been a feedback mechanism and
Right.
the person has worked.
That makes sense. All right. Yes.
What if you don't have any reports, like say,
You have a nice Virumandi mustache going there, man.
exactly, I keep changing companies every 2 years, so I don't have a good managers every time. That's what I feel. So
Is that
how
why
do I-
you change or you change?
Everyone say that I have an attitude, so
Okay.
and this for my rating.
Okay.
I keep changing. So
How long you been in the industry?
9 years.
9 years?
And fifth company.
So 2, 4, 6, 8. Wow, you follow the trend pretty well. So it's the fifth company.
Yes,
So next year you're due to change?
No, I settled down.
You said you found a good manager.
No, it's not about manager. Manager is not there. I don't have a manager now.
Oh, you don't have a manager. Okay. So what would the question go back to?
I mean, like, I couldn't find a right guy or right supervisor to gauge me because currently I don't have a manager. And
Trust me, don't do an MBA, become an entrepreneur. Find out. But having said that, there are individuals that I've seen, even professionally, personally, where they're self-starters, they're constantly moving, they don't have a sufficient base, like people who have known you for like more than 2 years, etc. In this case, I'll take this case.
I own a school, a preschool, small preschool.
Okay.
But will that a recommendation of my partners will work out, or
Recommendation of
Something
clients,
like that.
recommendation of your partners, they all work out. Peers to an extent, if they have some kind of supervisory role, it doesn't have to be a dotted reporting.
he is my ex-peer.
Oh, you just gave a pause after X, and I'm like, okay. You don't want to take a recommendation from your ex. Please, I will tell you that. I don't even want to go to this class. But having said that, okay, so that kind of recommendations work where it doesn't necessarily have to be a superior at work, especially when you don't have a steady job. I know people, considering that there are offers rolling out every year, change of jobs every year, quick jumps of 30%, 50%, etc. At that times, you don't have a single superior who can write elaborately about you. At that time, can you reach out to other places? The answer is yes in one.
See, my case is a bit different because I was a part of leadership program
Okay.
and I have to change my profile every year.
Okay.
So you have to get in touch with someone who will provide you that recommendation. May not be, again, as I said, it shouldn't necessarily be a dotted reporting. It can be, not direct reporting. It can be a dotted reporting. So try something like that. There will be someone, right?
Okay.
No.
2 years is a lot of time, I'm sure.
Actually, yeah, I would think the same thing, right?
My old boss knew me only for 2 years.
Yeah. And he seemed to have written her a lovely record. Huh? Oh, it's also the rapport, yeah. Do you have some personal advice for him? Yeah, but I understand. But I think for the specific question, you can go to your partner. You can take a recommendation with you. Oh, the second one. Bring on another partner, no?
Clients, is there any clients?
Yeah, or the father of a kid whom you really took care of. All right, no. But I think your years of experience itself speaks more, because see, the moment the years of experience crosses this 5-year mark, right, the experience kicks in than anything else. Because when you reach like 9 years, 10 years experience, I think you can vouch for that. I know you've gone to your superiors, but still you have so much to share that you need to pick up. There's such a nice story you build by yourself. That place, the recommendation adds, yes, it adds value, but it doesn't add as much for a person who's sub 5 years. So you should definitely play your experience really well to kind of sell your story. Questions?
I just had one thing on the reco part. So, 2 things on recommendations. You are able to hear me with the mic, or let me just. Okay, you need that. So, one thing is get a recommendation from a person who can write well.
Yeah.
Don't get a recommendation from this guy who says, "Do you know how is he good?" Would you select him? Yes. Correct? He's going to kill your chances, right? Even if he knows you very well. That's number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, do not go to your boss 1 week before your deadline. He's stressed doing some deadline work. You suddenly go and go, recommendation. Correct? And he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Right? best way, break bread with him, take him out for coffee.
Coffee doesn't work.
Beer. Okay, so up the alcohol quotient if you want, but really that's what. And you don't start off saying that you want to do an MBA. Tell him, you know what, I consider you my guru. I want to emulate you, but unlike you, I need an MBA. And when you tell him that, I submit myself to you, you have to do a little bit of that, right? So once you do that, trust me, even the worst of your bosses will be willing to help you.
In my case, a bottle of Johnny Walker worked.
In my case, the other thing worked.
Antiquity blue?
No, I said your support and your opinion I value very much. This is what I want to do. What do you think, etc.
See, end of the day, these are all people, right? End of the day, these guys are people whom you have interacted with. Think of yourself on the other side of it. What will you do in such a situation? You just have to play that well. Yes, I have a question there.
This is again on the recommendation questions again.
Okay. Wait, have you taken the GMAT?
No, not it.
Okay. So you already jumped to the recommendation.
Because we were in that same question.
Yeah.
So first thing is, can I? My supervisor just changed his company. So does the current employer play a role, or else I can still go back to him? He's currently managing a different team in a different company. Can he still write a recommendation for me?
I think it's a consensual yes. So
okay, great. And second thing is, this is something which I asked some time back. Probably I'm going to get a little specific here. I'm a passionate photographer. That's what I would probably write as my other activities. But somewhere I also worked on a couple of projects for an NGOs and say, for example, I've worked for CRY. So if can I get a recommendation from CRY that about my activities? Would that really add a value, because I'm getting a recommendation for my co-curricular activities and not my mainstream of experience?
Before I go to the panel, I'm sure the panel has a lot to share on this. It depends on what portion of your story is related to this that you're talking about. If this photography, this CRY bit is the majority of your story, you have created some groundbreaking impact there. Obviously, it's going to be the big part of your story. Then if that is your big part of the story, then yes, obviously you can go back and say, hey, because this is my story, this is what they have to say. And you can say, but if it is just a co-curricular activity that you're mentioning that, I'm a photographer, I work with an NGO. Unfortunately, B-School AdCom people are tired with seeing NGOs. It's not that, people are not good-hearted. That's the first thing people have to say. Yeah, I worked with an NGO. Since when? No one needs to know. I worked with an NGO, right? So you will have to take it with a pinch of salt that it's no more enough just to say that you work with an NGO, but you have to say what kind of impact you produced by working for that NGO. And if that still forms the big part of the story, yes, you can absolutely go back and take that bit and say that, hey, this is what I have to sell on their behalf. But yes, I would like to open to the panel if you have something to add.
To answer to your first question, some schools does ask for recommendation from your current supervisor. For example, London Business School asked for that. But then I think you can write back to them asking for the consideration. But in their application process, they've specifically mentioned that one recommendation they want from the current supervisor.
Does IMP ask for a current supervisor?
No.
So in my case, one of the supervisors was he was currently doing advanced MBA from Cornell, and the way I had to justify was that I have worked with this person, and he knows the major portions of work that I have done, and that is relevant, something very much relevant to what I want to do in future. Like as he said, either it should be a part of the story which is like the major portion. You're saying that yes, you want to get into the NGOs, or you want to get into the social consulting or things like that. If it is not, then it's hard to justify how that recommendation actually helps admission committee to know whether you're a good candidate for what you're saying, right? Be very clear on that.
I didn't take recommendation from my current employer, though I have been working with them for like one year, 9 months now. I took one of the recommendations from the business plan competition founder. Though I worked with her only for 3 or 4 months, but I knew that she would be better be able to tell about my expertise and whatever I can do. So I took one recommendation from her, and another from my professor under whom I did a project at college.
because I think that he knew me closely. So I chose recommenders that who will write better of me. So that's how I chose.
Oh, that's an interesting case because both don't go back to work. One is definitely related to an extracurricular that you did. One is related to a professor, which is academic, and it still works. You're there. You got an admit. So I think that kind of speaks for itself. And experience is less as well. Yeah.